Hey, look at that. Some people aren't completely tired of my face yet. That's nice. It's nice to have you here. Usual angle and everything, but I did change the setup a little bit so I'm not having to look all the way over there to see the chat. Now I just look down, look back up, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more connected to all the goings on. Just get this up. And hey, there we go. How's everybody doing? It's tough. I know. It's tough and it's gonna be tough for a while. But we're gonna have some fun tonight. So I tried to cover the plan as much as I could in the title of this thing, but we're gonna do a Q&A, and this will be the second time I've done a Q&A while actively drinking. Not just talking, you know, the usual water. But, so here's how this is going to work. Last time I did this, the way it worked was super chats of a certain amount or more would get me to take a shot. Now, last time I did this, I had the amount set at $5. Not trying to milk funds out of anybody, but that was too cheap. And you folks really got me hammered pretty quick. So this time I'm making it $10. Any super chat of $10 or more, I will take a shot out of my new Heisenberg shot glass, which Liz got me for my birthday. So that's the plan as far as that goes. I will be looking at questions. Otherwise, you don't have to do the super chat in order to get me to do a question. Although if you include a question with the super chat, that guarantees I will answer it. So, I will kick it off with one, just to get the mood going. But then after that, whoops, I'm already dropping things. That's not good. Hold on. Where did that roll off? There it is. After that, it will be shots on super chats. Am I wearing padding? You mean my chest? No, that's me. Not bad, huh? So, cheers, all. Oh, that's nice. Alrighty. What's the booze? I'm going light, which I also did last time. This is butter shots. It is butterscotch schnapps. When I say light, I mean it's not heavy proof. This is 30 proof. I'm not doing, like I've got 90 proof rum downstairs. I'm not doing multiple shots of that. So, and that was the other thing. I stacked the deck in my favor last time I did this. I did peppermint schnapps, but you people kept hitting me so often that it went downhill quickly. How are you doing under isolation rules? I'm doing all right. It's, you know, it's not an ideal situation. It's hard to find my rhythm, you know, when I'm stuck in the house and that's not really getting broken up. But the thing is, like, I'm not doing great, but I know the degree to which things are tough for me are, like, way lower than about 90% of just the people I know. So I'm not really going to complain. Let's see. I'm the worst fan ever with everything going on. I haven't mailed your birthday gift yet. I'll accept it at any point in the year, happily. So, you know. Are you planning on getting any more swords for your collection? Not real ones. I mentioned this a couple of live streams ago. I think I've kind of outgrown the impulse to get. I like the ones I have. Don't get me wrong, but I've kind of outgrown the impulse. Like at this point, I'd be much more interested in getting like foam weapons, things that I could like really just mess around and have fun with, and like take to conventions or things like that, and not have to have them like zip tied into a holster so they can't be drawn out, which is what happens. Like I took, it's up here. I took this baby to a Ren fair as a prop, and that's all it was ever going to be. But they had to they had to basically zip tie that to some bits of this to ensure that this couldn't be drawn. So, you know, I think that's part of why I sort of like when I think about things to get, I tend to think the foam weapons, some of which are on my wish list, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about there. I'm actually loving self-isolation. I'm warm already. I gotta take this off. Well, I'm glad you're loving it. It's liable to keep lasting for a while. Foam weapons to practice duel of the fates with the fam. I'm the only Star Wars fan out of the members of my family who would be physically capable of recreating that. So probably not. I'm watching this on my phone, on Chrome, and on the desktop version. It's an absolute hellscape for my phone. Help. You did that to yourself, my friend. Excuse me. Any cases for a new detective character I'm working on to solve? No, not off the top of my head. Like, you've really got to build those things meticulously if the point is the case. Like, you can do some detective stories where the point is more the interactions, or the point is more the personal journey of your detective character. But if you are really zeroing in on the crime being solved, you've got to build that stuff like clockwork. And I'm sure as heck I'm not going to do that off the top of my head while starting to drink. I'm considered an essential worker, so I haven't been home too much. I'm sort of in a weird place as far as that goes, because technically speaking, I'm not an essential worker. I'm in sales. But the company I work for is classified as an essential company because we make and distribute and sell first aid products. So the only, strictly speaking, essential workers are the ones actually building and shipping the stuff. All the office workers were sent home, but we are still working. We're working from home because while I may not personally be an essential worker, my company is, and my company's still up and running. So I'm still putting in full work days from home. That's where I am as far as that goes. Interested in the new Batman film? I need a trailer, honestly. Like these random images. The Batmobile looks pretty cool. Other than that, like, I've got nothing to go on, really. Other than the cast, and most casts can go either direction depending on the script they're working with or the how the director does it. Now, Matt Reeves is a decent director, so I mean that helps, but we'll see. How would you feel if the Doctor regenerated into a teenager? I would feel like that would be a pretty hokey gimmick, and they would be very hard pressed to find any teenager who could bring the sense of gravitas that you would need to the Doctor. So, I'm not going to say it's 100% impossible for it to work, but I would not recommend it. Oh, also, you're not supposed to be asking me the Doctor Who questions. Oh, Channel Bub, hey, how you doing? Been away for this channel for a few months. What's been going on the last few months, this channel and your other one? Well, actually, technically, I have 4 channels, but I've basically got 3 main ones that I update. I've got this one, I've got the Vera Wild, and I've got the Break Room. So, you know, still keeping up with the usual thing. Oh, hey, Teresa. Oh, it's good to see familiar names and everything. Tom Holland is no longer a teenager. If you're like, no, we're not doing Doctor Who questions. Stop getting me down that road. Okay, here we go. What upcoming movie would you be willing to sneak away from the house to watch in a theater? Well, the true answer to that is none, because I help my mother out a lot, and I have to help her during this, and she is old enough and in the danger zone that there is literally no movie that I would sneak out for, and it's also moot because all movies are delayed anyway. But to sort of engage a bit more with the question, which I'm assuming the premise is a bit of, if movies weren't being delayed indefinitely and we were still getting the schedule, what would I, in theory, if I didn't have to worry about someone, sneak out to go see? Well, okay, give me a second. I'm trying to remember what was scheduled to come out. Tiny bit of that down the wrong pipe. In the next, pop. In the next few months. I mean, I wanted to see Black Widow. Not bad enough that I would have broken quarantine to do it. I'm suddenly having a hard time thinking about what the heck else was coming out over the summer. Like, the other stuff that's further down the line, I'm still waiting. Like, I'm curious about the Eternals, but I kind of need to see a trailer on that. So I'm not sure there is anything coming up. There isn't really a ton this year that I'm like super about. And I don't know. It feels like a lot of stuff wrapped up recently. And, you know, both TV and film. You know, Game of Thrones wrapped up. The Infinity War saga wrapped up. And I'm just kind of, I don't know. It feels a bit like a breath of relief. It feels like one of those things that slow down a little sort of years, even more so now. Mulan was coming out this week. Yeah, I was actually open to seeing Mulan. I wasn't gung-ho about it, but I was open to seeing it. Stop being so cute. Love your videos. Keep it up. I shan't and I will, in that order. Everything is over. It was all going to be over eventually. Have you seen Parasite yet? No, I still haven't. Are you really forward to anything announced for the MCU? I mean, at this point, I'm kind of most curious about the Disney Plus movies like WandaVision and The What If and Loki. But like, I want to see what they do with the movies. Like I said, I still want to see Black Widow. What is your name? I only know you as Council of Geeks, and I feel like I watch a lot of your videos. Well, you clearly don't watch through the credits, because my name actually shows up at the end in the credits every single time. My name's Nathaniel. Under most circumstances, if you go to one of my other channels, or if you see me perform burlesque, which is a thing I also do, the other name that I sometimes go by is Vera. Why no Doctor Who? The reason no, I'll answer that one. The reason no Doctor Who is because questions about my opinion on Doctor Who pretty much dominate nearly every live stream and definitely every Q&A I've ever done. And I would just like to talk about something else. It's not because I'm like sick of Doctor Who. It's just like, you guys got any other questions besides that? Especially considering a lot of them end up getting repeated. Stream over stream over stream. And again, I'm not mad about that, but like, let's shift. Thoughts on Sam Esmail rebooting Battlestar Galactica? Didn't even know that was happening. Still haven't watched either version of Battlestar Galactica. I got no skin in that game. Coffee or tea? Usually tea. If I drink coffee, it's only once in the morning, but I drink tea way more often. Favorite musical theater actors? Ooh. Huh? You'd think I should have some as a bit of a theater nerd, but I'm not sure I do. You know, there are shows that I like, and there's certainly great musical theater actors, but I haven't seen enough live theater with people who have seen in more than one thing, and I wouldn't latch onto them based solely off like soundtrack albums. So I don't actually have an answer to that. Sorry. I feel like it's hard to watch Marvel movies now because the snap is something that should be so much more impactful, and it's weird how they brush it off. I'm not sure they brushed it off. I think they made it about as impactful as they could without it literally dominating every single thing that comes out forevermore, which realistically is what would happen. But, you know, realistic is boring, and in a case like that, gets you stuck in a spiral of telling the same stuff. Do Of the Daleks mean count as Doctor Who discussion? No, go ahead, go nuts. Wonder if people feel like Drusilla staring at the ceiling, seeing stars while in isolation. What is, Ikara Kid. Cool. Thank you. What is a show, movie or TV series that you made it through without being convinced you enjoyed it? I'm not sure there's any that I made it all the way through. Huh. Like, there are some that went off the rails, but I stuck with them even as that happened. United States of Terra comes to mind. Third season really went to heck. There was I watched 2 seasons of Big Love, and I know it had more after that, but I couldn't stick with it. Similar with Orphan Black. I did, I think, 3.5 seasons of Orphan Black, and I was like, and during that whole time, I was like, I keep waiting to see if I actually like this, and it just never, so, like, stuff like that, if it kept going, eventually I did bow out. Happy belated birthday, finally did Patreon too. Oh, thank you, Amanda. So that's 3. Favorite Joker. I'll be super specific. My favorite Joker is Mark Hamill doing Return of the Joker, the Batman Beyond movie. I like Mark Hamill's Joker in general, but there is something just a little bit darker about that particular story and how that Joker was being used. It's not like it's a totally different Joker from how he'd been in the Batman animated series up to that point. It's very consistent, but I feel like with that one, we got the darkness from the character that earlier stories had hinted at, but hadn't really done a proper dive into. He's, oh man. Oh, that story is so good. And I will always love Terry McGinnis laughing at him and pissing the Joker off. Saying, what? I thought the Joker always wanted to make Batman laugh. And he just gets so angry, starts hurling grenades. You're not Batman! I'm like, oh man, that was good. I gotta watch that movie again. That's a good movie. What Joker did would have messed me up if I saw it when I was a kid. Well, like, I was 18, 19 when that came out, so, like, I was totally down for it. But yeah, it's messed up. It's really messed up. If everyone who watched you semi-regularly was subscribed, do you know how many subscribers you would have? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. No questions, just wanted to say hi and happy belated birthday. Thank you, Tracy. And also thank you, Pup. So, here's the thing. Most of my videos do not have views in excess of my subscriber numbers. So, I actually, at present, not everyone who subscribes to me watches actually most of my videos. So, like, for me, a good video that is doing well is anything that is over 10,000 views. And that's a quarter of my subscribers. So, I've only had one video this year so far have views in excess of my subscriber count. What you drinking? I am drinking butter shots. Whew. That's that 4. Is somebody keeping track? Because I'm not sure I am. Let's see. Who is your favorite Harry Potter character? That is a tough call. I tend to go back and forth between Hagrid and the twins. Part of the reason I go back and forth on that is I feel like Hagrid is so gloriously prominent in the first 3 books. And the 4th one, they still found some decent stuff for him to do. By the 5th one, they didn't really know, I say they, J.K. Rowling, didn't really have as much for him to actively do. So he kind of tapers off, which is unfortunate. Whereas the twins, their prominence kind of builds throughout, peaking with the 5th book. But yeah, that's kind of where... Are you a fan of Barry Manilow? No, not really. Like, I don't know if you were going for a Buffyverse reference with that. That's where my brain went, so I'm going to assume you did. Don't dissuade me. I like that idea. Are you on estrogen? If not, how did your chest develop so well? So what I have been on for the past 3 years is I'm on spironolactone, which is a testosterone blocker. Now, here's the thing. The amount of chest development that I've had on spironolactone alone without adding estrogen is actually atypical. Breast growth while on estrogen is pretty common. The degree to it varies. Spironolactone, it's not impossible that you can get breast growth on it, but it's not common, and it's certainly not common to this degree. So I actually had an abnormal amount of growth off the thing that I was on because, strictly speaking, spironolactone does not encourage breast development. But when you start blocking your testosterone, what happens is testosterone is, as a hormone, is one of the things that tells your body that this area is supposed to be muscle instead of fat. So when you start blocking testosterone, you start blocking that instruction. So then this can become fatty deposits as opposed to muscular pecs. And so losing definition in the chest while on spironolactone is not uncommon. But again, the degree of growth that I experienced on that alone is not typical. But it is what happened. I'm okay with it. Thank you, Castile. Ooh, boy. My favorite Joker moment was his last laugh in the Mask of the Phantasm. Oh, that's a good laugh. Good pick. I should also add, it was my first Batman movie when I was 4. Ooh, that's a little bit of a harsh movie when you're 4. When what is his name? Saul gets spun around for the first time. He's like frozen grin. Whew. It's my favorite Batman movie ever, more so than Dark Knight. That is a legit opinion, even without nostalgia glasses. That is a legitimate perspective. And it's a very good movie. So hang on, let me put this back. Did you see The Farewell? Such a well-made biopic. No, I'm not even entirely sure I know what that is. A favorite or current favorite book? My favorite book goes back and forth between The Last Unicorn and The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Is that 5? I think that's 5. It's 5 to my count. Thoughts on Jack Nicholson Joker? He's good. I feel like he doesn't quite get the recognition that he is due in the wake of what Heath Ledger did. Because Heath Ledger definitely took it in a direction and to a level I don't think anybody could have predicted. But Nicholson, like, gangland, mob boss Joker is a totally valid Joker. That's what Nicholson gave us, and he works. He's quite good. Like, I honestly think the only bad Joker, the only Joker that does not work, at least in terms of film, is Jared Leto's. It just doesn't work. It's not coherent. It's just a cluster of crazy affectations jumbled together. There's no method behind it. I don't mean like method acting. I mean like there's no unified perspective determining how that character behaves. And you can try and argue, well, the Joker isn't supposed to have one. Well, maybe not, but the actor needs to have one. Otherwise, there's no coherence to the performance. So, yeah, that's the only one that I think was not good. I think every other version of the Joker that I have seen works for what it is being. Cesar Romero is the Clown Prince of Crime. He's in it for the fun. It works. Nicholson, the mob boss Joker. It works. Heath Ledger, Agent of Chaos. It works. Mark Hamill, holy crap. Yeah, that works. And most of the other is Roland Emmerich, the German Michael Bay. No, Roland Emmerich isn't nihilistic enough to be Michael Bay. The various Jokers that we've had in other films like Under the Red Hood and the Dark Knight Returns adaptation, I don't love, but they're still fine. Should Jack's films play Agent Smith in the next Matrix movie? I don't know who that is. So, I don't know. Do you like musicals? Oh, yeah! Yes, I do. It's hard to find good ones, but I do enjoy musicals. Especially if there is a character who sings in my vocal range, which doesn't happen with a lot of leads because I'm a baritone and most leads are tenors, so they tend to go up and out of my range. So, you know, Phantom of the Paradise and all that jazz are my favorite musicals. Interesting choices. I watched the film adaptation of Cats and it genuinely baffled and upset me. I have no intention of watching that one unless somebody pays me. Thoughts on the idea of another Bill and Ted? I'm curious. Like, partly because the idea of doing a sequel in the first place was ridiculous, and what they did was insane and also kind of brilliant. Now, it's been so long since Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, I'm not necessarily going to hold out hope for that, but franchise has already set a precedent of really bonkers sequels, so I'm game. What do you think about the latest Joker movie? Oh, boy. I'm not a huge fan of it, but none of that has to do with Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Joaquin Phoenix worked his ass off, and that is all up on screen, and all the props to him. The movie as a whole, I didn't particularly care for. Ever thought of playing Sweeney Todd? I would love to play Sweeney Todd. Oh, these are my friends. See how they glisten. What Miyazaki movie would you show someone who doesn't like and isn't really interested in Miyazaki? All right, I'm going to add that to the donation you did earlier and call it 10. So this makes it 6. Yep, I'm feeling that a little bit. So Miyazaki for someone who doesn't think they'd like Miyazaki. I would go with Princess Mononoke. Because I think it's the one that comes the closest to having, particularly if they're used to Western entertainment, that it comes the closest to a fairly standard-ish plot that is more relatable. Because it's dealing much less with whimsy. It doesn't really have, it feels more like a fantasy epic that I feel like people who aren't necessarily into anime or don't think Miyazaki's regular output is for them might be able to grab onto. So that's the one I would recommend. You don't know who Jax Films is. I watched you over 2 years, and now that I know you don't know who Jax Films is, I can no longer in good conscience stay subscribed. I'll miss you. If Chris Columbus's Blumhouse FNAF movie ever came out, would you watch it? Was he the director attached to that? I mean, maybe out of morbid curiosity. Like, I never got into FNAF. Do you have a favorite musical? What would your dream role be to play in a musical? Okay. This actually is just water. So, I don't know if I can name a single favorite musical. It tends to vary over time. I can tell you what role I really, really want to play. I want to play Dan from Next to Normal. If you don't know that play, it is a musical about a family dealing with mental illness. The mother in the family has a very difficult to manage mental condition, and Dan is her husband, who tries so hard to be the stabilizing force for the family. He is so desperate to be that, but it's not that he can't do it, it's that nobody can. For what is going on in this family, no one person can be the stabilizer for this. So I find him incredibly human, and also he sings in my range, so there's that. I'm a trans woman, and oh, thank you, Cleopatra. I'm a trans woman. I love your videos about queer representation in media. How do you feel about trans women of how? How do you feel about how trans women of color are represented in media? I haven't done a particularly deep dive into trans women representation to, at least off the top of my head, parse the differences in terms of how trans women of color versus white trans women have been portrayed in recent years. What I can tell you off the top of my head is that Orange is the New Black has the only trans woman of color that I can think of who wasn't a prostitute. So I would point that out right off the top of my head, because that's a problem. It's already an issue that trans prostitutes are kind of a cliche, but I also feel like if I've seen black, or not even necessarily black, non-white trans women in films or TV, they have tended to be hookers. And that's not an anti-sex thing. Sex work is work. Legalize, no, not even legalize, decriminalize it, seriously. But, you know, as a depiction, that's not cool. Which tropes do you like to see in fiction? There's a few things I'm a sucker for. I am a sucker for a well-constructed heist. I am a big sucker for games where we learn about characters through how they play. So, like, I'm a really big fan of poker scenes. I'm a really big fan of, card games between adversaries. Things like that, I'm a big sucker for. My dream roles are Man in Chair and Drowsy Chaperone. I don't know that show particularly well. The Baker in Into the Woods, good call. Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof, ooh, ambitious. Sweeney or Anthony and Sweeney Todd, and George in, I don't know what that abbreviation is for. I find Anthony to be very dull in Sweeney Todd, if I'm being completely honest. Actually, I find most characters who aren't Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett to be a little bit on the dull side. Some of the one or two scene characters can sort of raise themselves up. Pirelli is a good example of that. But a lot of the other ones, they can be hard to stick in the mind because I feel like Sweeney and Mrs. Lovett really suck the oxygen out of the room. I'm not sure that's a fault. I think that's by design in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's that. There's a segment of 80s Twilight Zone I need to dig up for you. Ooh, I am curious. Color me intrigued. Sunday in the Park with George. Thank you. I wouldn't have guessed that because I actually don't know that show. Like, I feel like I've mentioned repeatedly that I want to be in Next to Normal. Do people even know that show? Like, at all? Or am I just completely out of my luck on that? Are you a fan of Antonio Banderas? Yeah, usually. Changed my mind. I'm staying. If I could make it through finding out your shelf didn't go on forever, I can make it through this. Yeah, I do have to frame that shot pretty carefully, don't I? Did you watch Steven Universe Future Finale? I haven't watched any Steven Universe, much to my shame. Oh, favorite Toy Story film? Somebody asked that earlier. Second one. I actually would make Anthony into an unintentional stalker. Viable. Thank you, Matthew. Much appreciated. Thoughts on the movie Donnie Darko? My feelings are it's pretty mixed. I have not rewatched it in probably 15 years. I remember my thoughts at the time being, it was interesting. And that was about, that was about all I had to think about it. I had friends who were obsessed with it, but will you be going to see Mulan in theaters? Well, it has to actually come out. So... I don't know. I saw a community production of Next to Normal last year. Oh, cool. So somebody knows it. Do you watch any D&D shows? No, I do listen to one podcast. I listen to Improvised Weapons, which my friend John Van Luling is on. Playing the dwarf cleric who is probably going to get the party killed at some point. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't already, if I'm being completely honest. But let's see. Oh, hold on. Were there Were there burlesque questions and I missed them? Somebody bring them back up, please. I'm game for that. Do you have any interest whatsoever in The Thick of It? I'm not sure. I saw In the Loop, and I liked In the Loop a lot. I'm not sure I liked it enough to go back and watch the show that built up to it. Have you seen The Witcher? I have not. I've been binging on Attack on Titan. Have you seen it? I watched 3 episodes, decided it wasn't for me. Have you seen Dairy Girls? Nope. Favorite Spider-Man villain? Ooh, that's a good question. Best franchise mythos folklore for dragons? Ooh, that's a good question too. Do you watch RuPaul's Drag Race? No. So, favorite Spider-Man villain, best mythos for dragons. Like, I don't know my favorite Spider-Man villain at this point. Like, when I was a teenager, it was Venom, because I was trendy like that. Other than that, I'm not sure. He's got a lot of good ones. Do you dislike the TV Joker? I need to know which TV show you're talking about, because he's been on more than one. Fan of RuPaul? If so, have you seen the UK version? My feelings on RuPaul are like my feelings on most drag, and that is complicated. I stopped watching RuPaul's Drag. I did 4 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race, and I stopped because I felt like more and more of the emphasis was being put on the cattiness of the queens, and that was honestly reminding me too much of why I moved away from drag and now favor burlesque. Who has the best rogues gallery? Batman probably, but Spider-Man is right up there. Flash has a good one too. What are some of your favorite heist movies? Oh, God. I mean, Ocean's 11 is an easy... I actually also really liked Ocean's 8. There's others... I consider at least a segment of the first Mission Impossible to be a heist movie. I'm taking this because Cleopatra also hit me up earlier for 5, so I'm pulling that together to make it 10. Let's keep this going. Between the Netflix show You and the new Joker film, do you think mental illness is being romanticized? Because I do. Well, I haven't seen You, so I can't speak to that one. I don't know if romanticized is the term I would use. I do think mental illness has a tendency to be leaned on as a writing crutch to get away with characterization that otherwise would be called into question. Be like, is that actually a story that should be being told? And I feel like throwing up mental illness is kind of used as a bit of a shield and a bit of an excuse to get away with some stuff. I do think in many ways we're doing a little bit better than you, because it used to be incredibly exploitative, and still can be, let's be clear, in terms of people with mental illness, being serial killers or what have you. So, like, that's not a good thing. But I feel like we're drifting away from that. So while I feel like what's going on right now probably isn't great, I feel like it's a notch better than where we were, so maybe we can keep heading in a better direction. What's your opinion on Dave Chappelle's trans joke? Which one? We just binged Lock and Key. See it? Thoughts? Have not. So I don't have thoughts, but I have shots. That was awful. Is there any pop music in the last 5 years you consider listenable or even good? Yeah. Like sporadic songs, though. Like, the relationship I have with pop music is I'll basically breeze through Spotify going like skip, 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 ooh. And I'll find like 1 or 2 random things. I don't follow artists, though, for the most part. About the only artist who's still current, who is a pop artist who I follow, is Pink. That's kind of it, though. Other than that, it's just like sporadic one-offs here and there from various artists. When I was a child, one of my favorite shows was Kipper. Ever hear of it? Because it's such a sweet show. I have not. I should mention this YouTube video of the first 5 live performances of A Little Priest from the original Broadway Sweeney Todd production. Oh, it's Priest. Have a little priest. Favorite trans or gender fluid character in fiction? Mystique. Pink is still current? I think so. I don't know. I still listen to her. Have you seen Stu Bagfield's video on 13 Reasons Why? If so, what are your thoughts on it? Yes, I have, and he poured his heart into that. That was a really well done piece. I don't have really an opinion on his opinion because I never watched the show, but he did a very personal, very well presented dive into that show and what he thought they were trying for and how they failed and his issues with it. That was a good video. Mystique, she was nearly Nightcrawler's dad. I know! When I found out that what Chris Claremont wanted to do was to have it canonically confirmed that Mystique was partners with Destiny and that Mystique fathered a child with her, when I found out that Marvel wouldn't let him do that, Burlesque Sweeney Todd, oh, I'd be so down for that. Would you prefer being a bird or a pillow when going... What? Huh? I'm missing burlesque questions? Oh, for God's sake. Do you prefer being a bird or a pillow when going out to get car insurance? Okay, I heard a theory that Tonks from Harry Potter is gender fluid. I support it 100%. Here's the thing, like, if that's your headcanon, awesome. I don't feel like it's supported by the text. She would have the capability, I'm sure, but we don't get enough of an inside look into her mindset for me to be comfortable labeling her that. But if that's your headcanon, I'm not going to say you're wrong. It's just I don't make that leap. And I say that as a gender fluid person, so there you go. Let's see. Oh, hey, Joel! Favorite asexual rep in media? That is tougher, because there isn't a ton of explicit asexual representation out there. Did you ever watch Ace Lightning? Thoughts? Nope, don't know what that is. Thoughts on the state of Star Wars? Breather would be nice. That's kind of it. Do you like Wendy's restaurants? Yeah, they're all right. Now that Steven Universe is done and you are stuck at home, now would be a good time to binge it. Right now, I'm just trying to catch up on the stuff I'd already had planned. Do you watch Vouch? She's a small left-wing streamer. Nope. I don't really watch streaming. Which Lord of the Ring book/movie is your favorite? First one. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to be a drag king but can't travel 4 hours to get to a show and lives in a tiny town? I want to do shows but don't want to go in public alone. Oh. Trying to get involved in any kind of specialized performance when there isn't an outlet for it in your local area is really, really tough. I'm not entirely sure what to tell you. I think part of it's going to depend on your own inclinations and what the local vibe is like, because I don't know if it's a case for you of drag kings not being a thing around you just because no one around you does it, or if it's not a thing around you because the local populace would be very unreceptive to it. I don't have a way of knowing which is the case. If it's the latter, you're in very tough straits. If it's the former, you can maybe try looking into working with any local performance spaces to see if they can partner with a drag king troupe to have them come in and try and network that way. I mean, I give that as advice, but that's something that I myself am very bad at. I'm a crap networker. So, I don't know. That's tough. And that's really a shame because I love drag kings. Drag kings are awesome. And like there are some really great ones up here in Vermont where I live. Live long and prosper all y'all. Wash your hands, folks. Sorry, tuned in late. I wanted to ask your impression on the Batman. I don't really have one yet. I need a trailer. Stewart deserves so much credit for making a video that must have been so difficult to make. I'm either talking about 13 Reasons Why or his 50 Shades series. I mean, Stewart just does great work, and like most small YouTubers, he's better than his viewer numbers would indicate. Most pointless sequels. Oh, God. I'd have to think about that. There is a lot. Favorite Spider-Man film of the Tobey Maguire era Spider-Man film? Spider-Man 2. Is that even really a debate? Have you seen Breaking Bad? Of course I've seen Breaking Bad. What would be worse, sitting through the Cats movie or Vogon poetry? I mean, I think I could get away with laughing at the Cats movie and nobody would disintegrate me. I think if I tried to laugh my way through Vogon poetry, it would go very badly for me. Switch from the Matrix was supposed to be a different sex in either world. Yeah, I saw that. And you can see where that would have been very much in keeping with a lot of the themes of the film. But yeah, I guess Warner Brothers put the kibosh on that. Have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I have. I'm several seasons behind. I'm behind on a lot, people. It's so funny to be people like, oh, you have extra time. Why don't you catch up on this? I'm like, I have like 50 things to catch up on. Crying out loud. Best wishes at this time. Thank you for all your work and insights. Thank you. Let's see. Kingsman 2 was kind of not great, but Merlin's death scene was perfectly heartbreaking. I kind of hate Kingsman 2. It's not a point. See, the wording of the question I latched onto. There's a difference between a bad sequel and a pointless sequel. There was a point to doing a Kingsman sequel because the entire first one was about building him up to be ready to do these missions, and he only gets to do one at the very end. So there's totally a point to doing a sequel. Show us more of this world he now gets to be in after all the training. So there was a point to Kingsman 2. It just sucked. Like the more I think about that movie, the angrier I get. So bad. But when I think pointless sequels, like, honestly, doing a sequel to Rambo is pointless. I'm not sure the sequel to Rambo was even that bad, but it was pointless. If you've seen the original, like, why would you do that? That makes no sense. That's sort of where my head goes, trying to think more pointless. Like, there isn't a reason to do it in the first place, as opposed to you did it badly. Ever seen the Air Zone solution? No. Do you dye your own hair? No. No, I don't. Backing up. Do you think Better Call Saul has outdone Breaking Bad? Better Call Saul I haven't seen yet. So I couldn't tell you. Have you gotten the car owner virus? Well, I am paying off a car loan, so I think I may have caught that one. Highlander 2 does not exist. Oh, God, yeah, God, the epitome of pointless. Holy cow. Holy cow. Favorite Colin Firth performance? Ooh. Honestly, I think I might go with Love Actually on that. He's done a lot, though. That's quite good. Speed 2 is pretty pointless. Yep, that's a good pick. Favorite film of this year? I haven't seen a lot that's new this year. Hope you're well, boss. Your continued health is in my best interest. Thank you, Joel. Your concerns so heartfelt. For folks who don't know, Joel is my thumbnails guy, and he does get paid for that. So, let's see. Oh, I should hop over to the Discord. Favorite Bowie film? Labyrinth. Yeah. Okay, so over in the Discord, what have I got? I know wrestling isn't your thing per se, but from the perspective of someone who doesn't watch it, what thoughts do you have on WrestleMania? Normally the biggest show of the year being pre-taped and held from multiple locations in light of the pandemic. I've seen a lot of opinions from fellow fans, and I'm highly curious how this looks to someone who doesn't watch the product. I mean, given that it's a safety concern, that to me strikes me as the best way that they could do it and actually still have the thing. Now, given what little I know about wrestling and how much of it is very much dependent on the feedback of the audience and the energy of a live performance, that maybe they would have been better off just canceling the thing altogether, because that sort of presentation just sort of saps out what is unique about the experience of live wrestling. But if they're gonna do it, I'm not sure how they could have done it any other way. If you were to be sorted in any other house than the one you're in, which is Slytherin, for anyone who didn't know, which would you prefer? If I wasn't a Slytherin, I'd probably be pretty content as a Hufflepuff. And, just kick back, hang out in the kitchen. It'd be nice. Love Never Dies was even more pointless. Oh, man. I've never seen that thing, but I know it exists. Who was your first celebrity crush? My first? The first one I remember really, hitting me. Not even necessarily in the heart. Hitting me in the nethers, so to say, was when I saw Hackers. And Angelina Jolie in Hackers. Whoo! Oh, boy. It's a dumb movie, but damn it, I love it. I love it so much, and it's so stupid. Even for the time it was stupid, now it's really stupid. But man, it's fun. I enjoy that movie a lot. Favorite Gene Wilder performance? I mean, I think I gotta go Willy Wonka. I don't think that's his best movie. Best movie of his that I've seen was Young Frankenstein. But for just his performance in a microcosm, Willy Wonka. Microcosm. Boy, I can use big words even when I'm tipsy. What season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine are you on? I'm not even sure. That's how long it's been since I went back to it. I'm not sure. I was just wondering what your thoughts on Kids in the Hall returning soon. I never really got into that show, so I don't really have an opinion. Have you seen Firefly and Serenity? Thoughts? Yes. Yes, I did. I've got videos up on it. I did a rewatch, and I did a ranking. So if you dig through things, I think it's in the Whedonverse playlist. It's in there. I've done it. Shall we name a movie? Shall we name? Oh God, it's moving. Okay, hold on. Shall we name movies that don't and should never have a sequel? The Usual Suspects 2. Spacey reprises his role as Verbal, who blames Kaiser Soze when faced with allegation. Oh, wow, Ben. Oh, that one hurts. Because the original Usual Suspects is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I have very much gone out of my way to not rewatch it since all the stuff about Kevin Spacey came out. Oh, you wound me. Let's see. Roald Dahl hated the Wonka movie. Yeah, but by most accounts, Roald Dahl was a bit of a bitter guy. I'm just saying. Do you play an instrument? No. When I was in grade school, I played the trumpet. Well, actually, technically, it was a cornet that I played because my grandfather gave me his. But it's effectively a trumpet. It has a slightly higher register because it's a little bit smaller. But I played that in grade school, but I haven't picked it up in forever. I'm not even sure I could still get a decent sound out of it, and I definitely don't remember notes and fingerings and all the rest of. Oh boy, that sounded dirtier than I meant to. Ha ha ha. I am sober, they lied. Did you ever watch the The Worst Witch. It's a weird gender-switched Harry Potter with Tim Curry hemming it up as a major character. I've heard of it. I have never seen it. Do you have any good D&D stories to share? I don't know how many of them are... Now I have a cat laying on top of me. I don't know how many of them are good. Like, when my gaming group was Thoughts on Daria, I liked her as a character. The show I could take or leave. When my gaming group was meeting regularly, I had the notion, I never went through with it. I never would have been able to pull it off decently. But I had the notion of doing audio recordings of the gaming sessions and releasing them as a podcast. And I was gonna call the podcast "Damn It, Paul," because Paul was our usual DM, and he had a tendency to do things that caused some or all of us to go, "Damn it, Paul." Have you seen Mr. Nobody? What did you think of his storytelling? I've seen Mr. Nobody, and if so much of its plot didn't hinge on basically the exact same contrivance that Blank hinged on, I might have liked it better, but it still came across as really pretentious to me. I see what it was going for. It didn't work for me. But, so, like, some of the things that Paul would do, first of all, Paul had a tendency to create NPCs that we desperately wanted to kill. And there would usually be one or two members of the party who would go, "That's it," and just attack the NPCs. Or Paul would have an NPC, like after a run of NPCs that like jerked us around all over the place, Paul would introduce what is supposed to be a completely, good, positive force NPC, and we'd immediately be suspicious because we didn't trust Paul at all. And he engaged in literal Deus Ex Machina in one story, literally having a god teleport us to where he wanted us to be, which you could say is the mark of a bad DM, but you know what? The fact that none of us took any of this super seriously, we kind of all just rolled with it. God, even the game we did that Paul didn't DM, which was a Star Wars campaign that my friend Ryan ran. And Paul came in a couple sessions in as a character called Maximo the Maximus. He was the galaxy's worst stand-up comedian. He would somehow keep getting booked, but when he performed there, the audience would usually riot. He was so irritating, and I was an astro droid for that campaign, and I was seriously trying to figure out how I could eject him out into space without anyone realizing that I'd done it. What fictional version of space is most likely, in your opinion? Star Wars, Doctor Who, MCU? The schnapps starting to kick in? Oh, it's been kicked in. I am kicked. I mean, look, here's the thing. I don't think any of them are super likely, because here's the thing. We look at, and allow me to get philosophical with you, we look at the timeline of our own evolution as a species. We look at the distances between galaxies. And even setting aside how far apart habitable planets seem to be, or at least habitable to life as we understand it, appear to be in the first place, even setting that aside, the distances and the time make the notion of the sort of galactic federations, species intermingling, doing trade, joining forces, or fighting even, is incredibly unlikely. I don't think the notion of alien life is that difficult to comprehend. I don't think the notion of intelligent alien life is that difficult to comprehend. But the thing we have to remember is that the distance, and I think this is something that, it's something that science fiction ignores, rightfully, but I think it's something we tend to forget. The distances are so vast, and the times are so great, that it is distinctly possible for somewhere else in the universe, for a species on a planet to have evolved, risen, gotten to a spacefaring point in their own evolution, and also died out, and have gone through that entire cycle millions of years ago. So you have the improbability, and it's not an impossibility, but the improbability of the improbability of other planets that can sustain life. There are some, I don't doubt. But even among those, not all of them will, even if they're capable of it. So then you have the improbability of life developing in the first place. Then you have the improbability of that life evolving to a point of what we would consider sentience. Then you have the improbability of that life evolving to sentience and to reach the technological degree necessary to get off-world. And for all of that to happen at a close enough proximity to us that either we could reach them or they could reach us before the species just frigging dies out. And with all of those factors, I think the odds of not only us, but any species that is out there somewhere, I'm sure, it's an infinite universe, there's somebody else out there, but the odds of any of us ever bumping into each other are so phenomenally small that the odds are astronomical. Is it possible? Sure. Incredibly improbable, though. So until we get the infinite improbability drive cobbled together, I'm not going to be looking out for flying saucers. If you were to be quarantined with the companion of, let's say, a time-traveling alien, which one would it be? I would probably get along best long-term with Bill. Like short-term, like going out for a night, I'd want Donna, but I think if I was quarantined with Donna, she'd kill me after a while. Some planets have so much mass that a species wouldn't be able to leave its atmosphere at all. I mean, and that's another thing. You know, and that's why I hedge my bets with statements like life as we understand it. Which, you know, allows me for the opening of, you know, none of us know all the possibilities of what life could be. But to the best that we understand it, you know. Have you ever cosplayed as anyone from the Whedonverse? I have not. I'm not sure there's anybody that I would, to be honest. Like, it'd be cool to get that makeup for the vamping out done. Like, that'd be cool, but that'd just be more of a curiosity than anything else for me. Boy, that was a deep philosophical tangent I went on in the tail end of this thing, because I do need to wrap it up soon. Hey, Usual Suspects became my favorite movie as well, but I only watched it about a year ago, before the news about Spacey came out. At least you got more time to love it. Oh, fair enough. Trippy Donnas are a temperamental lot. I spoke to Vote Saxon 07. He said he'd quite happily do a collaboration with you on YouTube. He just hasn't been asked yet. I don't know Vote Saxon 07's work well enough off the top of my head. And, like, I'm generally open to collaborations in general, but, like, the logistics are always a pain in the butt. Like, there are people who I've been in contact with, and I'm like, let's do something. They're like, yeah, and then just trying to figure out and make it work is... It's a nightmare. Most terrifying film of all time. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. That is my answer, forever and always. It's the only movie that still messes with my head. No matter how much time has passed, no matter how many times I've seen it, still gets inside my head. That friggin' movie, man. Have you seen Dominic Noble's work? Yes, of course. I like his stuff. It's good. It's a little bit of a shame he doesn't call himself the Dom anymore, but I get why he changed it. I get it, but, you know, I had fun. with that name. At the end of the video, the Dom would ask you to be his sub. A more innocent time for him, back when he didn't realize. Thoughts on porgs? They taste like chicken. Do you have a pet? So if so, what is it called? Can you bring them on cam? No, I don't. I don't have a pet at present. When's the next bath talk? Loved it. I don't know when I'll do that again. I did have fun, but I don't know. I need an answer to the pillow bird question, Mr. Geek. I'm very sorry, but your question has been rejected by the coherency filter. Please ask a coherent question at a later time. Can I call you Mr. Geek? I'd kind of rather you didn't. Mr. Geek is my father. I need to wrap this up. You seem like you'd have a pet bird. Really? I don't know. I guess when I think YouTubers with pet birds, I immediately think of Pushing Up Roses. So, I don't know. Maybe my my point of comparison is off. Since you're wrapping up, I'll risk breaking the no Doctor Who rule. Oh, of course, somebody was going to. I've been interested in it for years, and your channel made me finally watch. Thank you. Oh, well, thank you. Favorite time-traveling franchise other than Redacted? Right now, probably Heroes of Tomorrow. I love Pushing Up Roses. Yeah. What about a pet raven? Oh, see, I couldn't do it because it would be smarter than me. Think you'd love The Expanse. Grounded sci-fi that has great characters, including great LGBT, and an exploration of humanity after colonizing the solar system. I've heard good things about The Expanse. Master Geek. Master? Well, if that's the way we're going to go. Funniest dubbed edits in anime you've ever seen? I don't know off the top of my head. Any plans for some videos on burlesque? Would love to know how you come up with ideas for a performance. Probably not. Largely because I don't really know how to talk about it. At least on here, in a way that would be appropriate for the channel. I mean, maybe on the Vera Wild channel at some point. Who are the other people in the Council of Geeks logo? Okay, if I'm from left to right, Ryan, me, Liz, Paul. Oh, and because this thing's flipped, I just went the wrong way. So Ryan, me, Liz, Paul. That's what we got. Leo's question seconded. Who are the other people? Yeah, well, there you go. I'm still getting over the bathtub talk. You showed a whole arm and some shoulder. Think of the children. Oh. Scandalous. I would say check out these guns, but I don't have any. Rest in peace. New fans don't remember the OG cast. No, it's fair. Like, I haven't gotten anybody else on this channel so far yet this year, and I feel awful about that. And now with the quarantining, like, I don't know when, but... Gonna wrap it up with that one. The children burst into flame. Oh, goodness. I would just like to thank you for exploring LGBTQ plus representation in TV because it solidifies my own worries and allows me to feel recognized. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I can help in some way. Bathtub Talk was the best video on your channel. We need a whole section called Bath Talks. Can you recommend some nerdy YouTubers who aren't cishet white guys? I know they're out there. Yeah. I can recommend a couple. Pushing Up Roses is now has sort of gotten into nostalgic media. In the last few years, things like Golden Girls and Murder, She Wrote and the Goosebumps TV show. But you can go back further, and she had a lot of video game content, especially adventure games, like old classic computer adventure games. That was really good. Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy has 2 channels, also has a comic books related channel. She's really good. She has eased off. She doesn't upload as regularly as she used to, but she was quite good. Jessie Gender, if you're into Star Trek, she goes deep into Star Trek. That's her bag. So she's good as well. I think those are the main ones for like nerdy, geeky that I would point you to. If you dig D&D stuff or talking about writing at all, you can check out Stephen Partridge. He is cis white, but he's not hetero. So, you know, bath time of the Daleks. What TV show did you stick with the longest, even though you weren't enjoying it? It was probably Orphan Black. I really wanted to like Orphan Black. But at the time that I bowed out, I realized I was sticking around on the promise that it was maybe going to develop a point, and it just never did, and it kept pissing me off. I'm not LGBTQ, but I've got depression, and your videos have helped me distract myself from things, so thanks. Oh, well, thank you. And I wish you the best in that. I'm really fortunate that for all the stuff that I've got going on in my life, that I don't have depression. And like, honestly, I would have been at risk for it, given some of the things in my family line. And I'm LGBTQ plus, sorry. Not offended. It's very tough because I've had and have multiple really important people in my life who suffer from some degree or other of depression. So I have never had to experience that fight myself, but I've certainly seen what it can do to people who do have to struggle with that. So if my silly little videos are any kind of help or consolation at all, that's really touching. Thank you. Thoughts on Walking Dead? I was gone after the first season. I bailed early. Are there any musicals you can think of that work in a non-musical remake? Not really, because if a musical is any good, then you wouldn't want to take the music out of it. You know what I mean? Like, my brain went to Blood Brothers for a minute, but like, even that one, even though the story doesn't need to be done through song, the nature of the singing helps the very heightened elements of that story go down better. So if it's a good musical, then it honestly, it wouldn't work as well without the music. I mean, that's what you do when you tailor something to the medium you're doing it with. If the story would work just as well without the music, then it's probably not a good musical. Because you'd be going, why are they singing? They don't need to be. It's not adding anything. So, you know. Yeah, I went immediately to Blood Brothers too. Yeah, I mean, I would still say even with Blood Brothers, while the structure of the story doesn't require the music, there is a heightened element to it that I think is easier to swallow in the form of a musical. You can take the story out of the musical, but you can't take the musical out of the story. That. Perhaps it would work for someone who hadn't seen the musical? Well, I mean, I guess. If it's a story worth telling, it can probably be told without it, but if it was a story originally designed to be told as a musical, it won't be as good. I really think Repo would be better as a non-musical movie. Shut your mouth! How dare you? Oh. Not okay. Not okay at all. Repo would not work at all if it wasn't A, musical, and B, a rock opera. And the main reason for that is because of the opera part. That is what I love about Repo the Genetic Opera. It is one of the best examples I can think of. That is a rock opera where the emphasis is on opera, not rock. And I don't just mean the fact that they have opera-style singing in it. I mean the story is operatic. The story is huge and overblown, and these massive, massive turns of the story and these ridiculous coincidences and these insane connections and twists between characters and familial relations and emotions so heightened that the only possible way to express that at a level that does it any justice for the level of absurdity that it is, because that movie is absurd, is to belt it in the form of song to the heavens. That is the only way to tell that story. How dare you? Hey. High fantasy or low fantasy? I'm torn on that because I tend to like high fantasy worlds and low fantasy stories. I would like a high fantasy world telling a low fantasy style story, because what annoys me about high fantasy is they have a tendency to try and build an epic story to match this unique setting they've created, and I am bored of epic stories. I like small stories in a big world. So what'll it take to get why Repo is awesome vid? Oh, it's on the list. I have a list of why it's awesome topics. It's on there. I'll do it at some point. So help me. Did you like We Will Rock You, the musical, not just the song? I don't know it. Do you like fantasy comedy like Disenchantment? Yeah, I can get an enjoyment out of it. I really do need to wrap up. And now I've got Repo Man songs stuck in my head. Zydrate comes in a little glass vial. The little glass vial goes into the gun like a battery. Do. Okay, I can't keep singing because after how fast the bots caught me reading something that was copyrighted material, I want to run the risk that they're going to shut down the stream because I'm singing. Anyway. So that'll, Addicted to the Knife? Yes. See, folks who have seen it get it. They get what I'm saying. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I gotta wrap it up. I hope you all are staying well. You are staying safe. And I don't know when the next stream will be. It'll probably be at the regularly scheduled time, which will be not this coming Tuesday, but the one after, at a guess. But we'll figure it out. This entire thing is make it up as we go along. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for keeping me in booze. I'm an adult. How ridiculous is that? So thank you, everybody. Be well. And remember that you are beautiful. You are valid. You are loved. You're the council. I just run these meetings. And until next time, have a good night.